This week, 33 House Republicans introduced a new bill, which they titled the Stop the Sexualization of Children Act of 2022. If that sounds familiar to you, it is, because it has very heavy similarities to Florida Governor Ron DeSantis' law signed in March, known as the Don't Say Gay bill, currently in effect in Florida's public schools. But this bill takes it even further. It bans any federally funded entity, including hospitals, libraries, military bases, and of course, public schools around the country from discussing, quote, any topic involving gender identity, gender dysphoria, transgenderism, sexual orientation, or related subjects to children under the age of 10. Joining me now is Alejandra, Caraballo, a clinical instructor at Harvard Law School's Cyber Law Clinic and a transgender rights advocate. Alejandra, thanks so much for joining us on this. We appreciate it. You had a really poignant response to this on Twitter, and I want to read it for folks. You said this. I can't overstate how radical the private right of action portion is. The bill is so broadly defined that a pediatric hospital could be sued for having a pride flag or a medical pamphlet about gender dysphoria. It deputizes anti-LGBTQ bigots to engage in bounty lawsuits. Got to say, not unlike that Texas abortion law that was put into place before the overturn of Roe, in which they were deputizing individuals on the ground to turn people in as well. Talk to me about your response there.
Yeah, exactly. So one of the things that makes these bills so insidious is that it uses this kind of private right of action mechanism to be able to enforce it. So instead of the government just saying we're not going to do this, instead it hands the reins over to private individuals to file these lawsuits. And the problem with that is that particular entities, and in this instance, private entities who receive federal funds could be sued under this or held liable. They can't assess their risk for any kind of legal liability under this law. And so they tend to overcorrect to comply with the law and end up basically overcorrecting and then ultimately removing all LGBTQ related material. This is exactly what we've seen in Florida, where school districts didn't know exactly how to comply with the law. And you had sometimes all kinds of contradicting advice given. Some teachers were told that they couldn't have pictures of their partners or spouses on their desks. Pride flags were being ripped off the walls. The stickers were being ripped off, even safe space stickers, just to try and comply with the Don't Say Gay bill. And so that's the chilling effect. Even though few lawsuits may actually be filed, the chilling effect is what's there.
Yeah, and you say dehumanizing, and you said it on Twitter as well, talking about your own personal situation, saying it is so incredibly dehumanizing and hateful for Congress members to draft a bill that would define under federal law who I am as a queer trans woman as being sexually oriented, as if my very existence, as you write, is harmful to children. It is disgusting, heinous, and monstrous.
Yeah, exactly. This is the natural outgrowth of the groomer libel that has been spread on social media for the past 8 to 9 months. It's basically trying to equate LGBTQ people, particularly trans people, as quote unquote groomers and pedophiles. And it's trying to basically spread this lie that LGBTQ people and even discussions of LGBTQ people are harmful to children. And it's absolutely devastating. And I think it does take a toll on the community, particularly constantly being subjected to this kind of hateful propaganda.
Well, and you think about how far we have come when it comes to the discussion of being part of the LGBTQ community and wanting children to open up about who they are and how they feel, right? And this, in a way, is asking them to go back in, right? To close those doors, to not talk about it.
Exactly. It's essentially an attempt to push LGBTQ people back into the closet, to not discuss it, because they're under the mistaken belief that somehow just talking about LGBTQ issues is what makes kids LGBTQ, and that's not the case at all. That's who they are. That's who they are born as. Yeah. All this is taking away the resources that vulnerable kids need to be able to understand who they are and be able to, sometimes survive situations where parents, family, friends are not supportive of who they are. And so by removing access to those kinds of resources, it really raises the risk of increased mental health issues for LGBTQ youth, which are already at disproportionate risk.
An inherent misunderstanding of what being gay, what being trans really is. It's as if they just don't even get it, nor want to.
Exactly.
Alejandra Caraballo, thank you so much. And excuse me if I mispronounced your name. People do it to me all the time, and it's not fun. So thank you.